Hello, everyone. Uh, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. All right. All right. As you know, we're doing this online today. So we are going to get started. You can see some students are coming in. So I'm just going to give a couple of minutes for everyone
Okay.
to join in the session here. Okay. All right. So I'll be recording this and I'll post this at the end of class today. Just a few reminders. So remember that exam one is next Wednesday. People just came in. Yeah, so exam one is next Wednesday. So don't forget about that. Okay. All right. So let's go to Brightspace and let's take a look over there. Okay, so a few things that I'm going to discuss today. One of them is that we should now have GPU Scholar for everyone. So I'll cover a few of the links and material. And then, as you know, the modules that we've covered so far this semester are agents, AI agents. Then we did transfer learning and an introduction to Hugging Face transformers. And then we started looking at reinforcement learning and reinforcement learning through human feedback. So that's essentially the topics that we have covered. So the idea of transfer learning, which is to take a model where the weights are no longer random, but they have already been pre-trained. So they have significant information, and then we just fine-tune them or provide reinforcement learning through human feedback to improve uh, the model. Okay, so I did add some things for the some items. So let me do a review just of the modules since I just to show you where everything is. And I realize people are still coming in. All right, so let's take a look at the first module, Agents AI. So as you know, you have a homework assignment. That is due February 16th, it says. So is that, what is that? So February 16th, that's going to be on Monday, okay, next week, but it's going to stay open until February 20th. So that's the same week as the exam. Um, yeah, so you have until February 20th, which is the Thursday, to submit the assignment. Okay. And then we have assignment, then we have the next module, which is the transfer learning. So we went over the definition of transfer learning. And I provided the Hugging Face uh, website and some example code examples. So we did that. And then you have a second homework assignment, which is due on February 23rd, and it'll stay open until the 27th. And it's essentially to find a couple of BERT models. Here I provided the first paper for this, which is this one. Attention is all you need. This is the original paper of transformers. Okay, so remember, this is a grad level class, so make sure you read these papers. You don't have to memorize them or anything like that. Just get a sense for what they are, but this is the original algorithm of transformers. Okay. Then we are looking at the next module here, which is reinforcement learning. Essentially, I have two modules, one just RLHF, and then one called reinforcement learning. So we are getting into this today, reinforcement learning, the algorithms. But RLHF, that's the one that I introduced last week. We're going to do a few more examples of this. So here you have an additional example. And guys, if you can mute your microphones, that would be very helpful. Thank you. So here you have an additional homework assignment, and it's essentially to take a GPT model and you're going to, with reinforcement learning, fine-tune it so that you can generate text in a specific way. I provided here 3 papers that are really important. So if you remember, I went over the background on GPTs and I gave you this pipeline essentially of how you can fine-tune a GPT model. I have provided the papers here. Go back to table of contents. Okay. And I have provided here the original paper. So this is the original BERT paper. It's called Pre-training of Deep Bidirectional Transformers for Language Models. So essentially, after transformers and the attention is all you need, you get this paper, BERT. Next thing. And then after that, you get the GPT paper, which is this one, original GPT paper, which is called Improving Language Understanding by Generative Pre-training by Ilya Susketer, Alex Radford from OpenAI. This is when the first GPT, which if you remember, a GPT is just a decoder part of a transformer. So this paper is one of the, like GPT-1, if you want to call it that, right? So it goes over the ideas. So definitely read through that one as well. And then once you have the papers of or the ideas of GPTs and BERT models, the next important idea is the original RLHF paper, Reinforcement Learning Through Human Feedbacks. You can see that here. It's called Deep Reinforcement Learning Through Human Preferences, also from OpenAI and Google collaboration. And you can see here, this is the one that I was talking about, where if you look, originally it was done for a robot. So that's supposed to be a robot type of a thing. And the robot is supposed to learn how to dance salsa. So how do you teach a robot to dance salsa? And remember, as I explained, since you can't really create a reward function for this, you have to essentially let the model try things. It generates 3 little clips of it dancing salsa, and a human can select the one that it thinks it's the best, and then it uses that feedback to learn. So that's essentially the idea. Okay, so this is the paper, as I said, on the original reinforcement learning paper through human feedback. So the three key papers that are BERT, GPT, RLHF. Okay. I'm going to go back here to the table of contents. And then that takes us to today's lecture, which is going to be on reinforcement learning. And here I've added two more papers that are important. This one I had mentioned before is the paper on evaluation of text generation of survey. So text generation models, and all the metrics that are available to measure the performance of these models. So that's essentially the paper. So what's important here is, when you do something like English, one language to another translation, you use something called a blue score. And now, there's now metrics for reasoning and for math, for solving math problems, which are way more advanced. So this kind of gives you the idea of it. Yeah, so someone is asking me about the exam. All right, so let me go through the most of you have now logged in, so I remind you that we have exam one on Wednesday, a week from today. So it'll be probably the second half of class. It'll be 10 questions or problems. Could be like write a little bit of code. It's going to be simple, right? So we've only started to scratch the surface on this. We haven't really covered what I would say is an algorithm as of yet. So it's really just kind of general knowledge things, but make sure you study all the material. It'll be 10 questions or problems. Yeah, so 10 questions or problems. It could be like, use transformers and use a GPT to do some inference. Or, if you remember, what is one shot, create a reward function for one shot. Or, just some general ideas of how an RLHF works, like the sentiment analysis example, just basics of it. I'm never looking for perfect syntax, but I just want to see your reasoning and logic. Some of the definitions of what transfer learning is. Obviously, AI agents, we covered that and what they are. So the code for that, how you have tools and you wrap code around a GPT, and it's all about prompt engineering. So those are the general ideas. As far as the papers, I'm not going to ask you specific things about the papers. I explained the papers, I would say. So, but read them if, for your own knowledge. Those are the important papers in the history of what we're doing right now. I would say it's like the papers that led to ChatGPT, for instance. Let's see. So from what you mentioned, I'm answering the questions. So I got a list of questions here. Yeah, you're allowed a single cheat sheet of paper. That's one of those 8.5 by 11 pages. I don't have one here, and you can write whatever you want on it, front and back. Right? Can the cheat sheet be printed or does it have to be handwritten? You can write whatever you want on it, so that doesn't matter. You can use both sides of the sheet. One sheet of paper only. 8.5 by 11 sheet. Yeah, it's just just a cheat sheet. You have to attend class to take the exam. So the exam will be in class. If we had another snow event or something like that, we would postpone the exam. Did I answer all your questions? Are there any more questions? And today, as I said, we can do a review also, and we can talk about, I'll try to save some time for that. No questions? All right, so everyone seems to be quiet. Let me ask you guys a question. How's it going with the homework assignments? Are you working on them? AI agents is the first one, right? So you guys are working on them. Let me put it this way. Any questions about the homework assignments? Questions? Okay. All right, so good. So then here we go. So these are the papers, as I said, that are important. That one's related to the metrics. Let's go back to what do you mean a review on assignment? Which assignment? What do you mean? I don't follow. Okay. Um, okay. All right. So we're here. So I mentioned this paper on evaluation of, the metrics. The other paper that's really important is this one, Siegler 2020. This is called fine-tuning large language models from human preferences. So this one ties in GPTs, transfer learning, but using RLHF. So you can see it ties the RLHF paper to the GPTs, also done by OpenAI. This is one of the most fundamental papers on this topic. Okay. And so it's one that I recommend that you read it just for your own, it's a very interesting paper. It's really what, the essence of what made something like ChatGPT work. And so it's a pretty good paper. Okay. All right. So of course, we're going to start discussing reinforcement learning. So that's going to be, so during the first half of today, I'm going to talk about reinforcement learning. I'm going to break this up into two sort of lectures, essentially. So the one that I'm going to do today, and then the next one that I'm going to do, uh, you know, the next week, the day of the exam. Okay. As far as the homework assignments, I do want you guys to present them. So you will present your first AI agents homework on February 26th. Okay. So just keep that in mind. I do want to see what you did with AI agents. But next week is the 19th. We have the exam. So it'll just be half a lecture and then the exam during the second half. Is that clear for everyone? Are there any questions about that? You're all very quiet, so can you guys hear me? It's difficult when you do this. Somebody gave me the thumbs up, so I assume that means everyone understands. Okay, yeah, so next week, so today we're doing RLHF or reinforcement learning. Oh, somebody asked me if the exam is going to be pen and paper. It's a Word document. You download it and you answer your questions and then you re-upload it. All right, so February 12th, that's today. We're going to do two things. Some theory on reinforcement learning. And then we're going to do go back to RLHF and look at some examples, some additional examples that I've done from that. Next week, that February 19th, make a note of this. You have exam one. During the second half and during the first half, it's just going to be a lecture on a continuation of reinforcement learning. And then the week of the 26th, so February 26th, during the last part of the class there, you're going to do the presentations on your first homework, which is AI agents. Okay? Does that clear? So I can probably extend that homework on AI agents until the 26th. So let me do that. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to leave the due date as is, but I'm just going to give you set this to end on let's make it the 27th. And you'll do your presentations on the 26th. Any questions, guys, about that? This case on crew AI and small agents? All right, doesn't seem like there's any questions, so I assume that's clear. All right. Can we select any other? What do you mean by select any other what? AI agents example. I still don't understand your question. What do you mean? Mention? What do I mention specifically? That's the problem. You can speak, by the way. So what is you have to use either crew AI or small agents. You can't use another framework, but you can use any GPT and it's for any task. So what do you mean? Sorry, I don't.
No, it is mentioned as law agents as an example, Professor. So I just wanted to know, like, if we can go with any other example than
Well,
that.
of course. I mean, well, I did say, for example, a law clerk, right? So it can be anything. That's just an example. Did I answer your question? Okay, all right. All right, so that's clear then. All those things should be clear now. Yeah, so that one you'll have to think about. Somebody's asking me about the metrics for the agent to write outlines for a good story. I did provide this paper. That's why one of the reasons why I provided the paper. If we go to the table of contents, you'll have to figure this out. So go online. But if you look at, it's probably in here. If you click on a survey, this is a survey of many types of metrics that are available. Go online for your specific task and see if you can find one. But reading through this paper might give you some insight into, some kind of a metric that you can use. Okay. Or do it manually, figure it out like heuristically. It's not that important, but it should be part of, you should spend a couple of hours at least trying to figure out something and think about it. As it would be part of the general pipeline of how to measure, the quality of the work. All right. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much everything with the schedule. Then the other thing I wanted to mention is that we have now Scholar. So everyone should have their own account and they can log in. You have to log into Scholar, you have to go in here to GPU Scholar, follow these two links and read everything in there. I will also provide two more links. Okay, so you can go here, these two links. So I'll add them in there. One of them has information on how to create environments in Scholar, which should help you hopefully. So I'll just create a link. Set up Anaconda environment in Scholar. So that's that link. This is, of course, remember that to train a lot of these models, you need a GPU. And so Scholar provides that GPU. To access the actual Scholar, you will need this link and you will need to log in. But I'll paste it in here as well. Create. Okay. I'll say log in to Scholar. And here's the link for that. Okay. So that information is also in the Word document, but you can use it. So I'll just do a quick demo of this, like really quick, not really do much. But essentially, you go to GPU Scholar and log into Scholar. When you click on that, it should take you to something that looks like that. It took me directly because I already signed in. If you haven't logged in, then you'll just log in with your username and password, and then it should take you to this, okay? Okay. All right. So if you guys don't have an account for whatever reason, if I made a mistake when I was setting up your account, please just email me your username and your email, and I will and let me know that there was a problem, and I'll see how I can figure it out. All right. So things that how you would start to get access to Scholar. You can click on cluster, and it opens up the shell, which is like a terminal. So you can run certain commands here. I'm going to do clear so you can run my quota. And I think this for me is not working right now. Hopefully it'll work for you guys, or maybe they're upgrading the system, making some fixes. You can do ls-l and it shows you kind of the folders you have available here. But you can see you have a home and a scratch space. So I do ls here. Let's see. I do home. Okay, that's not there. Okay, so that I did that. Pwd, all right, home, ls-l. Okay. Okay, and CD desktop maybe. I don't have that. pwd. So my home folder should be here. So if I click on files, home directory, I have this on demand. Mine also is inaccessible. Yeah, so somebody sent me a picture of the terminal. Okay, yeah, that's so you logged in, so you do have access. You'll have to play with it. Read the documentation that I provided and see if you have any issues. Scratch seem to have, yeah, so maybe one thing about the models is that they're pretty big, so if you can figure out how to load everything on this Scratch folder, that would probably be for the best. So this Scratch is probably for the best. To be accounts. Oh, these must be you guys, actually. Yeah, I guess I have access to your folders. Home directory. Guess I don't have a desktop on here. So you may be able to just load your files directly to your user, or if you can tap into Scratch. So it would be something Scratch Scholar, my users. So if I go back to, so Scratch Scholar, let's see, CD Scratch, yeah, CD Scholar, okay, LS, yeah, there's a lot there. CD Calix, clear. Right, so this is my, if I do PWD, so that's my folder, Scratch, Scholar, Calix. My understanding is we have about a terabyte of temporary space in here. So if you're training large models, this might be your location. Right, if you're having an error, please, as I said before, email me. Don't put it in the chat, and I will have to deal with that, okay? Thanks for checking, but just send it via email. All right, guys, so that's a quick example of getting into Scholar. For now, try to access it, and as I said, read the documentation that I provided. There's quite a bit going on there. Essentially, we would want to access Jupyter Notebooks or Jupyter Lab. So if you click on Interactive Apps, I believe, and click on Jupyter Notebook, it opens something like this. Now, the problem with this is that, so we're trying to get GPUs, right? We're trying to get GPUs. So the GPUs are limited because it's the whole Purdue system. So you may not be able to get a GPU during class time, but you may be able to get a GPU on a Saturday at 2 a.m., right? Or somewhere in between. So the point is you'll use this essentially for your homework assignments whenever you need a GPU. So what you do is Jupyter Notebook, you select that you need basically a GPU, max 4 hours. The wall time in hours, I would just say 4. Number of cores, I think 4 should be fine. Number of GPUs should be 1. You can choose to use Jupyter Lab or without. And then you click launch. And then it takes a while. As you can see here, this might take forever. I don't know, honestly. That's why I never depend on, oh, it worked. So then you clicked on connect to Jupyter. And here, as you can see, you have your individual, oh, there we go. You have your individual, this is like a normal Jupyter notebook, and then you go here to new, and you select an environment that you want to use. The problem with these environments is that they're fixed, right? So there's a 3.9 and a 3.8 and a 3.11. So what if you need a 3.10 with a specific set of programs? And I actually I'm not sure. They say Python 3.11, but I'm not 100% sure that these are actually Python 3.12. Right? That they're actually that Python, because they could be another one. So this one's, I clicked on this by mistake. Sorry. Let me close that. Let me open another one. Instead, I'm going to open Python 3.9. Click on that. If I do this, this essentially now is a Jupyter that should be connected to Scholar. But let's confirm. So I don't have. uh, Yeah, we would need to confirm. I don't know. So we'd have to know what kind of version of okay, so there's a connection. Shoot. See this, I don't know these if all of these work. So that's why you need to read the documentation, okay? This is loading Python 3.8. And I would recommend just creating your own environments or playing with it to see which ones work and which ones don't. So here it's starting the kernel. Okay, so it did connecting to kernel, it says. And you can just try to import something. So import NumPy. Connection to the network notebook server could not be established. Yeah, so it's not connecting either. So yeah, so these are not, you may have to create your own environment. So I suggest you go to the link here, set up Anaconda environment, read through this, okay? And if you're still having issues, we're gonna have to get some help from the IT department. But that's essentially the idea. Scholar is not something that sometimes works nicely and sometimes is a little bit difficult to get going. I would think that at least one of these would work. Are you guys trying this on your end? So this one ran. Just trying to find one environment that works. Import, no, see this one might work. Okay, so it doesn't find it. So it's got like a default environment. So pip install NumPy. So this one says normal site packages is not writable, but it does say it says also that it is already satisfied. So okay. Yeah, so I think a lot of these environments are not working by default. So I recommend, as I said, read through this, try to figure it out. And if you're still having issues, let me know and we'll see how we can get it solved. But this would be the environment that you would need to use for to run your GPU. Any questions, guys? I have to read the documentation and have prepare a demo for this. I just got this, so I have not been able to create an environment. But I need you guys to try to log in and show me that it works. Or let me know if you don't have access to it. Any questions? All right. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so all right, so if you've logged in, um, you need to create, so I'm gonna delete this one. And so two things, you'll need to try to set up your own environment, which probably by reading these instructions and following them, your own Anaconda environment. Once that's set up, hopefully the way that you would tie it is you would click on Jupyter Notebook or Jupyter Lab, select the GPU that you need, GPU max 4 hours. And then you can click also, let's try use Jupyter Lab. In this case, you launch it. You have to wait a little bit. And then when you have it in, this clicking on this should take you to Jupyter Lab here. And then the key is the environment you created should be somewhere on here, or you have to use one of these environments, which I'm not sure if they are working. Like if you click on 3.11, if I do x equal 3 and then x, all right, so that ran. Okay. So import NumPy. Okay, so that seems to have run also. So there you go. So from Jupyter Lab, we do seem to have this 3.11 environment available to us. Okay. So this is another way, but like I said, the problem is you may need to have different versions of Python and so on. So please read through the documentation and try to figure out how to create your own environments. Amir, does that make sense? Did you get all the information? Did I answer your question? Okay, perfect. All right. So yeah, so play with it essentially. And yeah, and let me know. And next week we can discuss. But this is what you will use whenever you need to train a big model. And so on. All right, so I think we're done with everything like administrative things, right? And GPU Scholar. So we can start the 2 topics for today. So I'm gonna like stop recording this.